Hello YouTubers! Happy Sunday to all of you. This is Video Update Sunday, and it is the third day of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, which is one of the first topics I wanted to talk about today. So I'll just cut right to the chase. I hope that you have been raising awareness, because I know majority of you who watch my videos are on Facebook, Twitter, and all other forms of social media. I hope you're doing your part. Even if it's sharing one meme or one gold ribbon or putting it in your house window, go gold in the month of September for childhood cancer awareness, you're doing your job, and I say thank you for taking the time to, get the word out. I was told by my dad, who was snoozing over there, I was told that he was trying to set up an appointment with some of the local television stations for me to be interviewed by the local television about Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, being a survivor, and kind of sharing my experiences. And I've just been waiting for a phone call. And I would love to be interviewed, just to get the word out. It's not about me being on TV, which is what most people would assume. It's about getting a message out. And if all else fails, at least I still have my YouTube channel. But what I want to do is I want to help get the word out. It starts on a local level, then it becomes national. And I, as far as I know, he's even reached out to like the major news, like CBS and ABC and Fox and all those, just to get the word out, because childhood cancer awareness is extremely important. And to me, it's something that I hold very dear and close to my heart. So if you're watching this, and you don't have to be affected by childhood cancer, and Jared finally admits it. Well, I never denied it. But anyway, that's another story for another day. Share the ribbon, get the word out. See, the thing is, guys, is this is, of course, naturally, it would be very personal to me. Childhood cancer awareness is one of the few things that I can actually say that I actually hold dear to my heart, because no one ever asks for that. No one ever asks for their children to be sick. No one can ever prepare for it. You can't take preventative measures to ensure that your children don't get cancer. And which is why in the past I've made such a big deal about, don't let anybody, the very minute someone tells you that their mission as an advocate is to protect the children, they've just given themselves enough rope to hang themselves, because there is no way, nowhere, anywhere that I know of. And if there is a such thing as preventative measures that you could take to prevent from your children getting cancer, point me in the direction. Show me where I can find preventative measures so I can educate myself and I can help get the word out. But my point to that is, if there is such a thing as childhood cancer prevention, if there are preventative measures, I'm almost certain that you, the cancer parents, and my own parents would have taken those steps. They would have taken those preventative measures to ensure that I didn't get sick, and you would have done the same for your children, if such things existed. And if there are things that exist, like I said, please send me an email, send me a text message. Do I challenge it? Yes. And if I could be proven wrong, then prove me wrong. But until such time, I have never heard of such a thing as childhood cancer prevention anywhere. Now, I know like St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, I have a great deal of respect for them, but they're a research hospital. just like most hospitals that specialize in childhood cancer, they are also doing research. A lot of them are tied in with ACS, and I know a lot of people, not to put ACS on blast, but I know a lot of people who aren't really crazy about ACS because of the funding and the research, the degree of which they take in promoting awareness and where the money goes, a certain percentage goes to that. No, I'm not going to get into that, but there is a lot of, there's a lot of heated debate about the ACS. But what I'm saying is St. Jude is it's one of the top rated hospitals in the whole country. It's located in Memphis, Tennessee, and they do a lot of extensive study and research. And some of the most top-rated, highly professional scientists are, and doctors really, technically doctors aren't scientists, they are practitioners. Scientists, and when I say scientists, I'm talking about people who are in the laboratories doing this work. Because medicine is a science, whether it be pediatric medicine or just medicine in general. It's all scientific. So in any time a person says, well, my mission is to protect the children, well, first of all, I want to see your PhDs, I want to see your doctrines, I want to see some college education, I want to know who you went or where you went to college. I want to know what your credentials are and what your education is. Because if you are so educated to the point where your mission is to protect the children, then my follow-up question to that would be, why aren't you in the science labs? Why aren't you working side by side with some of the highly respectable geniuses? Why aren't you in there doing the work? And I always hold people's feet to fire when they want to bite off more than they can chew. And I don't know if the person still uses that catchphrase, but it's been said before. And it is a bit tacky to me to make unfounded claims, which is one of the reasons why I don't have Facebook anymore. Because people, Facebook has become the devil's playground for people who they just can't think for themselves. They're smart, intelligent people, make no mistake. I have a lot of friends on Facebook, but their intelligence comes to a screeching halt when you want to talk about appeal to popularity, what we can demonstrate is true, and what you can disprove. Their thinking stops. Their learning curve comes to a standstill when they are presented with, well, everybody else is saying it, so it must be true. Well, that's not the pathway to truth. That's not how we come to discovering things as true. Because none of those claims have been demonstrated. Now, when you talk about the people who work in the science labs, and I'm comparing apples to oranges here, but when you're talking about the scientists who are doing the research, all of the information that we receive from our doctors has been published, from the studies of the scholars who gather the information from the scientists, from the people who are doing the research. It's what we call peer review in the scientific community. It's demonstrable. It's easily, you can observe this. You can demonstrate it yourself. It is within, it's repeated over and over and over again under laboratory conditions, tested, and it yields the results. And when they all come to an agreement, peer-reviewed, when they all come to an agreement, then they pass it on to the scholars and say, hey, this is what we've observed, this is what we found, you can print this. And the scholars print it. The information that gets printed from the scholars goes on to the colleges and the universities and the schools. And that's where the students learn. And then they go to get their degrees, and then they become people in that particular community, they work in that field of expertise, and they are then qualified to say, hey, I went to school for this, I know what I'm talking about, I've had a lot of years experience at this, and the more experience, the better. But if you're just going to go by, well, he did a Google search, congratulations. Google's free to everybody. Does that make all of us more qualified than a person who actually went to school to do the research? And if you're talking to scientists, give me some of the names of the scientists you speak with, because I would love to give them a call and ask them, hey, did you speak to such and such? Do you know who such and such is? Either way, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, because if you're not someone who has the qualifications or the expertise in that field, then I guess we really have nothing to talk about, because you're not someone who anybody should listen to. That's like saying, well, my son has labs today, but instead of actually picking or having someone come in who actually has the expertise, someone who has their PhDs and their doctorates and all that good stuff to be performing labs, hey, why don't we have Joe Schmo over here from off the street just come in and do it, because he's so smart and intelligent, and he did a Google search on how to administer blood work. See what I'm getting at, folks? It's kind of the same thing. So please don't confuse the good deed with the actual, the person who's actually qualified and has the license and the degrees to be practicing medicine. So, oh yes, and I'm wearing my my Spartan shirt today, and I'm drinking out of my Spartan coffee cup, so I'm feeling a bit green with envy. No. Last week I had fallen into a bit of a depression. I seem to be coming back slowly but surely. I sleep a lot and I don't eat very much, so I'm kind of guessing that the depression is still in full swing. I appreciate all the texts and the emails and the words of encouragement. People asking my dad on Facebook, hey, how's Jerry Bear doing? And I'm doing okay. Slowly but surely I'm bouncing back. I just did a whole bunch of writing in my journal, and it's one of the best, just me and my journal. It's one of the best times I've had in such a long time. Everybody's considering, even my mother, if she's watching, I don't know if she watches my YouTube channel, but even my mother suggested that I get into my doctor and go to see a counselor, put me on medicine. But, I mean, which is, there's a lot of dogma attached to it, stigma attached to it. Seeking help is not a bad thing. I don't want to put out any bad impressions about seeking professional help or going to see a counselor. But what I found, what works for me, is when I wrote all my feelings down in my journal, which I've been doing for going on the past 18 years, it seemed to help me. Because it's like, I'm writing all this down. I know how I feel, and I know that I'm smart enough to spot things. And as I'm writing all this down, it's like, I feel great. I got all of my thoughts projected out into the open. Well, not the open, but on paper anyway. But it was like, it felt great. It was a nice lift off my shoulders. I don't want to go to a counselor. I've tried counseling before and it didn't work. They put me on feel-good pills, is what I call them, feel-good pills. I used to take Zoloft and I can't remember the name of the other pill right off. But it was a pill a Seroquel, that's what it was, Seroquel. They put me on Seroquel to help me sleep. But this was, years ago. I know that's what's going to happen. Well, we'll prescribe you some depression medicine, and I know that's what's going to happen if I go back to see the doctor. I really don't want to have to take medicine. I mean, I will if I have to. If it gets to the point where I can't control it or it becomes unbearable, then yes, I will seek medical help, medical treatment. But other than that, I mean, just writing everything I wrote in my journal, I mean, that was really beneficial to me. I didn't think it was going to have that effect. But it's like, I'm sitting here, I'm writing all this down, I'm writing my own thoughts, things that like I said, I'm smart enough to point out, things that I want to talk to people about publicly, as in like doing these videos, things that I want to project. And I know it's not going to set well with a lot of people. I know this, the thoughts that I have. And that's fine. I'm not a people pleaser. I can't please everybody. But I'm trying to maintain a happy, healthy, productive lifestyle. And when I write things in my journal, that it helps to relieve, it takes out all the negative. And it's like, you know what? That's what I needed. I'm back where I belong. I've been writing journals all this time since I was 13 years old. I'm 31 now. It's like it became the love of my life, writing journals. And my poetry, being a bit biased, I think I do an okay job writing poetry. And I've had a lot of wonderful reviews. I've probably had maybe 2 or 3, bad reviews, but I think a lot of it, those reviews were just to be spiteful and mean. But that doesn't stop me, because I had written a new poem just recently called Dollars and Change. Which, by the way, I hope you've had a chance to watch the YouTube video, the poem video, rather. But the thing that kind of depresses me is, these are people that I've spoken to for the past 2 years. And then suddenly, for whatever the reason, if they just don't want to deal with the drama, because drama seems to be a buzzword that everybody goes by, and they use it to mask avoiding truth on things. Well, this may be the truth, Jerry, but I just don't have time to deal with this right now. I don't want to, I don't want to deal with that drama. People like to misdirect the word drama, and they misrepresent it for something else to avoid seeking truth of things. Well, I just don't want to get involved. Well, as far as not having time to deal with things, you had time to block me. So obviously you have time to deal with things, because you're believing what people are telling you, or you're convinced that what everybody's saying is true. So yes, you most certainly do have the time to deal with it. But I'm not going to nitpick. My thing is, I used to be able to talk to those people. They convinced me that they were friends, and maybe that's where I made the mistake. These were actually people who were really super cool, and they cared, and then they pulled the rug out from under my feet. Well, all these people are saying this. Well, I'm sorry that you are so convinced after all this time to believe such nonsense. Whatever. There's nothing I can do to change a person's mind. But I will say that nobody talks anymore. And this is part of where, in my journal, I discuss how Facebook has destroyed humanity. And I've even said it in my YouTube videos here. Social media is not, it's not, I mean, it's good for some things, but it's worse in most everything else that you would experience in life, including people skills. People don't know how to interact with each other anymore. Well, we'll just take the lazy shortcut way of going through Facebook and, well, here's where all my friends and family are. Yes, but you also have to consider that whatever's going on behind your back on Facebook, once it's out there, once you push that post button or that enter button where you leave a comment or whatever, it suddenly becomes a newspaper. And well, it's in the newspaper, so it's got to be true. Well, I'll compare social media to Fox News. Because Fox News, Bill Maher said it best, the facts don't get inside the bubble. Fox News is biased news. It is based on the reflections and the viewpoints of the people who host it, and the viewpoints of those who work at Fox News. They believe what they want to believe, and they hear what they want to hear. And it's no secret. That's why most people don't watch Fox News. But social media is the Fox News, where you get all kinds of misinformation. You get, one-sided viewpoints on everything. And those of us who actually are concerned about truth, it doesn't fit into everybody else's equation of doing research to find out as to whether or not something is true. And people aren't just making shit up to get back at people in retaliation, which is what I would lean towards. But we have this great big concoction of misinformation, this appeal to popularity that somehow, well, because all these people are saying this, so it must be true. That is the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. Because it doesn't matter the number of people who get behind something. Each and every one of those people can be wrong. And any time when I've asked for evidence of something, so far for my money, I've gotten bupkis. No one can produce anything. They don't have screenshots. They can't tell me anything that I supposedly said that was inappropriate. And if all they have to go on are words like sweetie and sweetheart, oh, he said the word sweetie to my little girl. Sorry, that doesn't corroborate with what I'm being accused of. Inappropriate comments? Where? When? I have yet to see it. I mean, it's a null statement. It's just, it just kind of sits there. It kind of sits there. And I've even had one person whose daughter is battling leukemia. I'm shocked that he would even have time in his busy day taking care of his child who is sick with leukemia to troll a page or to come out with these, screenshots from Twitter trolls and try to pass it off as fact, which I think is also something else that happened. A lot of these people that I had spoken to for a long time, they kind of, they went with the word of a troll, which is also, pretty damn stupid. But I'll leave that there for them. That's their plate of food. They're going to have to chew it when that time comes. As for me, I'm trying to maintain, like I said, I'm trying to maintain a happy, healthy, productive life. And there's moments when I feel like, what, I don't think it's worth it to help people anymore. But then I come to this realization, and this is what everybody else has been telling me, that's what they want. They want you to stop. They want to get under your skin. They want to make you feel like what you do is not important. I still have friends out there, although they live far away distances. We're talking Florida, Colorado, New York State, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin even. I have friends from all over. But they just live so far away. I mean, I have friends in Iron Mountain, Michigan. I went to stay at their house last year, and I'm looking forward to coming back, and they told me that their door is always open to me, which I'm happy. I'm happy to hear that because I am looking forward to coming back again as soon as I save up some money, because their son, who is also a Wilms tumor cancer survivor like I am, he wants me to come back. He's asking about me all the time, and he plays youth football. I went to his game last year when I was up there. I stayed a weekend up there, and whenever they would huddle, he would huddle with his group, and he would always look up with me, from away from the team. He would look up just to see if I was watching him, and we would always make eye contact. and I would give him a thumbs up, you know, and say, "You got this, buddy. You're doing a good job." Huddle with his group, his team. This is my first cup of coffee. You gotta bear with me here, guys. And this Saturday, I wanted to mention this too. This Saturday, where my dad and I have been invited to a bike run in Eaton Rapids. So I'm pretty sure that it's going to benefit a little boy that I had actually helped, who also gets seen at Sparrow, and we have the same pediatric oncologist, which I think is really just super awesome. So I'm really looking forward to that. I can't wait to see the family again. I can't wait to see the warrior again. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait for my dad to meet him. I mean, I love this family. I met them once, and they're just so down to earth. I've met the little boy and his mom and his aunt. I haven't met his dad yet, and I'm really looking forward to meeting his dad. Because when I had made a visit to his house, his dad was at work, and it was the little boy, his brother, his mom, and his aunt. So they weren't home alone. For those of you who are going to use this piece of the video to dish up some brand new rumor that something's going on. No. Because you know how people are, folks. You know how people are. They like to take things and they like to twist it, and they like to make something out of nothing, which is exactly where we are now, with the aid of social media. And I'm going to adjust to my chair. There we go. With the aid of social media, that's where we are. And I'm just, it keeps coming back to me. It's a recurring thing that just comes back to me over and over and over. It's like, you know, I don't understand how anybody could get inside of your mind so much to the point where you want to start blocking and banning and deleting and doing all this heinous crap. And I call it heinous because you're believing a lie. You're believing a lie. I don't want to make every video about negative stuff. I mean, I had one of my friends I haven't spoken to in a month because she had moved. Her and her family had moved. She called me up and she says, "Oh, it's so good to hear your voice again." And I said, "Yes, it is. It is amazing to hear your voice because we developed a pretty good friendship." And I know there's people who they would much rather hear things from me. Okay, how's Jared doing? We want to hear from Jared. I get that. Okay, I understand, and that's where they want me to come back to Facebook. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry, but it's just not going to happen. If people ask my dad how Jared's doing, okay, just tell him I'm doing okay. Or, he went for a walk, or he went to the store, or whatever. He's writing a poem, writing in his journal, whatever. Just give them an update. If they ask how I'm doing, if they're interested in knowing how I'm doing, just tell them I'm doing okay, or they can text me. And the reason, because I even told Dad, kind of give people an idea how I'm doing, those who actually care enough to know how I'm doing. But here's the thing. Those people don't call me every day. They don't text me every day. They don't email me every day. And that's to be expected, considering that they have their own lives to live. They have mouths to feed, jobs to attend. And, they can't make each and every waking moment about me. And I don't want them to. I'm not a narcissist. I wouldn't want that on my conscience. So that's expected. But that, again, with social media, it's just, and I don't want to sound like a jerk when I say this, but I mean, and I'm not saying this about my friends, but social media for most people, it has become another reason to not venture out and actually meet people. Now, you can make plans to meet with your friends through Facebook. Say, you know, long time no see, we will have to meet up over coffee sometime, which is wonderful. Make those plans, but make sure that you actually do it. Instead of, well, we're friends on Facebook, and that's really all the communication we need. It is just a lazy, shortcut way of communicating. It ruins your people skills, because if you treat someone like shit on Facebook, if you block them or delete them or ban them from your page, and then you actually see them in public, it makes the situation awkward. It makes it totally and completely uncomfortable, to the point where you can't even talk to these people. And it's like, well, I blocked you for a reason. And boy, if I had a dime for every time I heard that, well, Jared, I blocked you for a reason. Why are you emailing me? Because I want to know what's going on. That's a problem that we have in this day and age, is the miscommunication. And that just proves my point. We can't talk to each other anymore without, well, you know, you're stalking me and I blocked you and I want you to leave me alone. I want to know why. And they say, well, why is this so important to you? Why do you need to know why people block you? Just let them go. But that's the problem. That is the problem, is that people don't communicate the way that they should be. And yes, I would love to actually talk to people. And I know it's wishful thinking, and it's like, you know, I would love to hit Mega Millions, which we all would. But it's the same attitude. I would love to talk with those people and just try to understand why would you be so convinced of something that is not true? Who or what could ever convince you or have that kind of control over your thinking that you would honestly think that this is true? Now, when I speak in opposition to other people, I'm not actually going person to person to person to person to person to person. I know there's people out there right now who are doing that about me. They're going to everybody that they can rally up to go against me. And that's not what I do. If people come to me and ask me what my problem is with a certain person, I'm telling them straight. I'm not going to hold back. There's been times when I was apprehensive, and I said, well, you know what? Maybe it's not a good idea I talk about this, because how do I know that you're not going to go back, or you're not going to screenshot these messages and go back? Because I was so upset at that point, I would have said something negative or heinous, you know, and I didn't want that to be a bad, some kind of a negative reflection on my person. So I just said, you know what, I just can't talk about it right now. And it wasn't disrespect to the person who asked. I was just not in any mood or any way to be talking about it. But now, I mean, if someone emails me and says, well, what do you have against this guy or this girl, this lady? I'm going to tell you straight. You know, I'm not going to hold back. But there are people out there, and this is happening. They are desperate. These people are desperate to, you know, you're going to get private messages from certain individuals. They are desperate to cut me out of the equation. They don't like it. And only people who are guilty of doing things will work at making an attempt to try to fill people's heads with a bunch of shit. So go ahead. Keep private messaging people about me. Go ahead. You're just demonstrating how desperate you are at trying to cover your own ass. You know, and that goes for anybody else who goes around person to person, door to door, telling people about Jared Fuller this and Jared Fuller that. Well, now this video is out on my YouTube channel, which means that, you know, we're on to you. We know what you're up to now. And I've always known what you've been up to. But like I said, I don't want to make every video about everybody else. I want to talk about what's going on in my life. So far, not a whole lot going on in my life, actually. I've been I'm just doing what I can to help raise awareness to childhood cancer. That's one of the things I've been trying to do on my YouTube channel. I know I haven't been very creative in that way, but I just have to think of ways to brainstorm. I've shown videos of my battle scars in my channels here in my videos on my channel. If I can speak, I need more coffee. But it's about delivery, and it's about creativity, and it's about how we go about getting the message out that 4% of government funding is not enough, because only 4% is earmarked for the research and development of cures. So I don't know. I mean, because many people can agree or disagree with the statement, but September, I mean, this is 1 month out of the whole year. For people like me, being a survivor, this is every day of my life. And the same can be said about this CareFest thing that happens every September, which I've heard about it, and people think, well, I've always seen people say, well, we have to go to CareFest. No, you don't. Because here's the thing about that. I mean, I'm sure CareFest is a wonderful event. It's a wonderful, like a festival or whatever. I don't know. I've never been to a CareFest. I'm sure it's great, and I'm not going to denounce or put it down, because I'm sure that there is a perfectly good explanation for why the CareFest thing exists. But I think those who attend it, they need to remember and understand that majority, I would have to say that majority of the people who attend CareFest are survivors, or they're fighters. And so every day, I mean, if you're a survivor like I am, it's an everyday thing. It's not just once a year or once 1 month out of the year that we spotlight this. For me, this is each and every day of my life. Next year will be, this coming March in 2018 will be 29 years since I was diagnosed with stage 3 unilateral Wilms tumor. It's been a long time, and yes, well, Jared, those are one of the more curable cancers. I understand that. Cancer's cancer, and that's the point. I'm friends with a lot of people whose children have had Wilms tumor. I would like to continue staying in touch as much as I can, but and like I said, I'm sure CareFest is wonderful. I'm sure it's a wonderful time. But I guess because I'm interested in finding out additional details, like, okay, the people who put this on, who are they? How do they relate to childhood cancer? What is their correlation with raising awareness? Do they just do it? Do they have kids who have been affected by cancer? Were they affected by cancer as children, or are they just normal, average people who have no direct affiliation or direct effect by cancer, and they just want to do it? And to me, that's important, because I don't use that to elevate people or to treat people any differently. It's nice to know for my own personal education about certain people, so that way I can kind of assess for myself, like, okay, I love the fact that it's people who are not directly affected by it, but they still want to do something to bring people together. If I got along with one of the people who actually is in charge of it, I would love to attend a CareFest. I would love to. And I would love to have a one-on-one conversation with that person who just thinks the worst of me, and he knows who he is. No need to mention a name, but he knows who he is. I would like to just, kind of clear the air. And I would want to know, why are you so convinced of this? Why would you ever be convinced of something bad? I care about what's true and what's not. And, that's one of the things that I would want to have a discussion about. But anyway, so yeah, this Saturday I'll be in Eaton Rapids on a bike run. We're going to have to leave really early, Dad, because it starts at 10 o'clock in the morning. So we're going to have to leave about, I want to say 7. It's going to be, really early. But it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing my friends. I would say my old friends. I'm looking forward to seeing some friends, and which, by the way, we keep in touch away from Facebook. Oh yeah, that was something else I wanted to talk about. I was actually on the phone with an actress last week, and her mom, which I thought was really cool. And I just want to say thank you to the person who I had a telephone conversation with. That was really cool. She is an actress. She has worked alongside Kevin Bacon, and she lives in Baltimore, Maryland. And she goes to New York City for auditions and, things that are pertaining to her career, which I think is really cool. I'm a fan of Kevin Bacon. But anyway, guys, there's really not much to talk about. What I'll do is, at the end of this video, because I did mention depression, what I'll do at the end of this video, I will provide a helpline for those of you who are depressed, and you are seeking help, and because depression is very serious. It is nothing that anybody should make light of. It is one of the most serious, most leading up to deadly situations you could ever have. A lot of people tend to commit suicide because they're so depressed. And people have asked me, well, Jared, do you have suicidal thoughts? No, I don't have suicidal thoughts, but the idea of the thought of not being around anymore has crossed my mind. I'm not dreaming up ways of killing myself. I have no desire to want to kill myself. What I do is I have to keep telling myself that, I may be depressed now for a little while, but because of other people doing the shit that they do. But those people who really and truly know me will see the real me. They will know right from the start. They will know that I'm a genuine person, and that these rumors that are flying around is just that. They're rumors. It's people who are retaliating. They have nothing better to do, and people, and I can understand people get, they get sick and tired of hearing about the same shit over and over and over again. Which, okay, fine, I'll give you that. I'm getting tired of people coming at me with the same shit over and over and over again, and have to continuously explain myself to different people. But I give them props because of the fact that they're concerned. That they're concerned enough by this to come to me and ask me, what do you have against this person, or why are they saying this? They're saying it because it's retaliation against me, because there's a certain person or people out there that I just don't like. I don't like their methodology of doing the things they do. I think they're dirty and crooked, and when they ask me, well, why would you think that? Well, let me explain. Allow me to explain, if I may, and then I'll just start pointing out all the red flags. But I don't enjoy talking about people who are taking advantage of other people. It's just not something I enjoy. Because those are people that I, as an advocate, those are people that I represent, whether they like it or not. I mean, they don't have to like me, and that's fine. You don't have to like me. You don't even have to like my dad. My dad, oh well, who cares? That's my dad's attitude. Screw him. But me, I'm kind of wired a different way. It's like, I care because they're people. They're people who are going through some of the worst, absolute worst times. And I try to get through to as many people as I can because it's important. To me, it's important. And, I wish I had ice in my veins and say, what, screw it, I don't care. It's their loss. It's just not me. It's not my nature. I care enough about people to say, hey, don't fall into this trap. If they come to me and ask me what I have against certain people, it's just me saying, please do not fall in this trap. I've learned so much from this person, and oh, he's or he or she, I keep saying he, but he or she, they're doing this and doing that, extravagant things. I don't care. I don't care. They have duped you into believing things that are just not true. You're appealing to something extravagant as opposed to looking at the facts and actually thinking about things, doing the homework, doing the research, and thinking, this doesn't add up. This doesn't make sense. Like I said, anybody can do a Google search. Anybody can do a Google search. But it doesn't make you, just because you get your information from Google, it doesn't make you a scientist. It doesn't make you an expert. It doesn't mean that you suddenly become a person who's qualified enough to be talking about things that people who work in the science labs are talking about. You don't get to dwell and indulge in those same types of conversations. Whether or not you talk to an actual scientist, to me is irrelevant. Because I would rather focus more on the scientist than you. You're not a scientist. You're not doing the work. And one of the things I noticed on Facebook, and I'm trying not to ramble, I don't want to take up too much time, but one of the things that I noticed the most on Facebook when I was on it is we have people who are living vicariously through other people, particularly children. Well, my daughter is working to become an oncologist. Good for her. We need people like that. We need oncologists. But when you take that extra mile and say, well, if it wasn't for me, they wouldn't be doing this. No, I'm sorry. Conversation ends. Game over. Because what you have just done is you have taken your empty life and you are trying to fulfill it with the accomplishments and the achievements of your children, which I think is wrong. You are not responsible for what your children are doing. Even if well, my parents inspired me to do it. Okay, that could very well be the case. And I'm not denouncing that you get some kind of inspiration from your parents. However, your parents aren't the ones going to the courses. They're not the ones doing your homework for you. They're not the ones studying for you. They're not the ones who are, there's always going to be, and that's with anybody who becomes successful, there's always going to be someone out there, including your parents, that they want to take responsibility for your achievements. And I'm not saying all parents do it. Some have, especially in the pediatric cancer world. These people who call themselves advocates. They want to take credit for the work of their children, the accomplishments and the achievements of their children, because they haven't accomplished much of anything. So it's different to have inspiration. Inspiration is amazing. When you're inspired by people, that's wonderful. But to then, like I said, you're crossing a line then when you say, well, if it wasn't for me, my child wouldn't become an oncologist. And the same thing happens with people in the entertainment world too. And I've also seen this on Facebook. You have a lot of peripheral people who are coming along, taking responsibility for the accomplishments and the achievements and the successes of everybody else. Well, I had a podcast, and they were on my podcast show, and they were heard in 22 countries. So what? So, are you the one doing the work? Are you the one that is signing contracts? Are you the one that takes these people to their auditions? Are you the one who, well, I give them an opportunity? No, you're not majority of these people who want to take credit or responsibility for the achievements of other people, they are in no way affiliated with anything that they do. They are sideline people who are doing whatever it is they're doing to, get attention because they crave it. It's easy to spot a narcissist on Facebook. Very easy. And then, you have people who want to take credit for everybody else. And it's just, to me, it's stupid. I have no reason for it whatsoever. I have no reason to think that anybody should be taking credit for anybody except for the person who is doing the work to become successful. Well, I motivated them to become successful. I'm sure you're not the only one. They have lots and lots and lots of friends and lots of connections. You are not the only one. It's like when I was on Facebook, I used to share the pages of, like the kids, the actors and stuff. Because I was friends with their parents, and I said, okay, well, I'll help get the word out to have all my friends, so they can get that kind of exposure, because it's not a physical, in-person kind of exposure. It's just Facebook exposure. So if they know who these people are, just give their page a like, check them out. But that's not me taking credit for their popularity. It's not. A lot of people say, well, yeah, you are taking credit for their popularity, because their audience grows. I'm not taking credit for it. This is just from my personal point of view. I'm saying, hey, these people are really great. Just check them out. Just see what they're up to. It's not me taking responsibility saying, well, if it wasn't for me, they wouldn't be so popular. They wouldn't be, so famous. That's not true. Because they were famous and doing their own thing even before I come along. So, anyway, I'm just kind of staring into my coffee cup, and it's almost gone. One whole cup of coffee, and I've been here for almost 54 minutes. But anyway, as far as I'm doing okay. As best as I can. Like I said, I don't want to go to a doctor. I don't want to be put on medication for depression. But if it comes down to the point where I have to do this, then I will. I'll force myself to go. Because I know when I take, before when I've taken depression medication, they do the blood work to make sure that it's in my system. But I mean, the thing is I've taken medicine my entire life, almost all my life, right? Since I was 2 years old, I've taken medicine. So for me, it's like, I'm going down this road again. I mean, everybody takes medicine at some point. I'm not saying that I'm the only one who has ever taken medicine. That's just not true. But what I'm saying is since age 2, I've been taking medicine. I've had all kinds of chemicals and poisons and drugs coursing through my veins, I just don't want to take medicine anymore. I need a break, you know, but if I need it, I'll take it. And for those of you who are watching and have children who are fighting cancer, there's something else I kind of wanted to point out real quick, is that a lot of us, when we get older, you know, as time goes on, we remember certain smells, we remember certain visions and things like that from like the battle or from our checkups. For me, I have a PTSD that anytime the smell of rubbing alcohol or Stellarity, like in the hospitals, anytime I have, you know, when I smell rubbing alcohol, I'll start having flashbacks. Because when I would go to East Lansing for my cancer checkups, that's all I would smell. Like because I didn't like needles, and alcohol is associated. Excuse me. Alcohol is associated with, you know, getting your labs done, because they have to keep the rooms clean and as sterile as possible. And then they rub that little alcohol swab where they're going to insert the needle. So that brings back a lot of, you know, it triggers the flat, you know, the memories. So it's one of those things. The smell of rubbing alcohol sets me off every time. It's like, I cringe, because it's the dynamic between the alcohol versus the thing that I didn't like, the little 25 gauge butterfly needles. I'm sure a lot of your children who are cancer warriors have had their share of butterfly needles. I know I have. It's you know, there's just certain things you do not forget. And sharps containers, the view of a sharps container just, ugh, you know, because I always remembered after I get my labs done, they would, you know, they put the needles in the sharps containers, or they would just throw the needles in the garbage, in the wastebasket. It's just some things, you know, even when you know, just recently I had labs done this year. I recorded a video where I was getting a needle put in my arm. It was kind of a flashback, but it wasn't, you know, like, you're not using the butterfly needle. It's actually a grown-up needle. Excuse me. So, yeah, PTSDs are quite common. And if you you know, it's something that you should ask your children. Do you, you know, does this kind of like trigger flashbacks? Does it, you know, like anytime you smell rubbing alcohol, or you see a sharps container, or the gloves, even the rubber gloves, do you or the latex gloves rather, I guess, do you have the flashbacks? Does it remind you of that time when you felt the most uncomfortable? Even the smell of freshly brewed coffee, if you can believe this, is also a PTSD of mine, because at the checkups in East Lansing, I remember, like it was yesterday, we would walk in the back, you know, and this would be after I get my labs done. We would walk into the back of the room, and Dr. Scott would be sitting at his desk. Dr. Scott would be sitting at his desk, and I would be sitting on the exam table, and they would always have a coffee pot nearby for the doctors and the nurses and stuff. And I associate that smell with, you know, every time I smell a coffee pot, and even in my own house, because you know, the smell of freshly brewed coffee to me it just smells good. I love the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, but it also triggers a PTSD that I remember that smell from when I was 5 years old and going to East Lansing, sitting on that exam table waiting for Dr. Scott and Dr. Guerra and Dr. Kulkarni to come in. And I had 3 oncologists that would come in at the same time. You know, sometimes they come in together, sometimes they would come in separately. But, I mean, there are certain things that you just don't forget. And that's one of them. It's weird. It's all in your mind. It's all how, you know, the mindset works. But it is one of the most, I wouldn't say devastating. It takes you back to a time, like I said, that when you felt uncomfortable and you're reminded of, oh my God, you know I recognize that certain smell from somewhere. That's what it was. The one place I didn't want to be but had to be. So, and I'm rambling on about this a little too much. But anyway, guys, that's all for this week. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope you raise awareness to childhood cancer all the way up until the last day of the month. I hope you are successful and get the word out and make known that, and something else, that if you're going to do this, if you're going to raise awareness to childhood cancer, may I ask a small request, a small favor? Please make it known that childhood cancer is not rare, because anytime I do a Google search about certain things, because I research a lot of things. Although I'm a survivor, there's still a lot of things that I like to research. I see this all the time. Although cancer in children is rare, excuse you? No, it's not. If it's so rare, then why do all these children, tens of thousands of children annually, why are they diagnosed if it's so rare? You know, so please make it known that childhood cancer is not rare at all. That kind of thing kind of pisses me off. But anyway, guys, I'm going to end on that note. Childhood cancer is not rare. I'm going to provide a number to crisis intervention or some kind of a suicide helpline and depression or whatever. I say whatever, but I don't know the name right off. I'm sure I can find a number to put up at the end of this video. But anyway, I thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Go gold in September. And I will see you guys later in future videos. Much love and peace.